On February 9, 2004, a 21-year-old nursing student from Massachusetts disappeared without a trace. Bright and athletic, she had attended West Point before transferring to UMass Amherst. Signs of stress in her final days deepened the mystery of her sudden disappearance.
Today marks 20 years since a UMass student disappeared. She crashed her car in New Hampshire, never heard from again.
The suspicious disappearance of Maura Murray is one of the most talked about cold cases in New Hampshire.
On the night of February 5th, just 4 days before she went missing, Maura was working a late shift at her campus security job. That night, she spoke with her sister Kathleen, who had just returned from rehab. During their conversation, Kathleen revealed that her fiancé had taken her to a liquor store on the way home, sparking an emotional breakdown for her. Hearing this, Maura also became visibly upset, breaking down in tears while on duty and becoming almost unresponsive to her coworkers, who ultimately escorted her back to her dorm. This incident left Maura shaken and was later highlighted as a potential clue into her mental state before her disappearance. On February 7th, Maura spent the day with her father, shopping for a new car before having dinner together. Later that night, she borrowed his car to drive to a party on campus. Leaving around 2:30 a.m., she crashed into a guardrail on her way back, causing significant damage. Although her father reassured her that insurance would cover the costs, this accident seemed to add to her distress. Maura spent the night at his motel before returning to her dorm in the morning. By February 9th, Maura's behavior took a more mysterious turn. Around noon, she emailed her professors and work supervisor, informing them that she needed to take a week off due to a family death, though no one in her family had died. That afternoon, Maura withdrew $280 from an ATM, bought about $40 worth of alcohol, and packed her car with clothing, toiletries, textbooks, and her birth control pills. Her dorm room was also found with personal items boxed up and the walls bare. Although it's unclear if she had packed the boxes that day, Maura made one last call to her voicemail at 4:37 p.m., marking her final recorded use of her phone. That evening, a resident along Route 112 in Woodsville, New Hampshire, heard a loud noise outside and saw a car up against a snowbank. When a passing motorist stopped to help, the young woman driving, presumed to be Maura, declined assistance, claiming she had already called for help, although records later revealed no such call. The motorist drove home and reported the accident to the police, who arrived on the scene around 7:46 p.m., only to find the car empty. The car's windshield was cracked, both airbags were deployed, and red stains, suspected to be wine, were found inside. Maura's debit card, credit cards, and cell phone were missing and have not been used since. Police initially treated Maura's disappearance as a possible case of voluntary disappearance, speculating that she may have intended to start a new life away from her troubles. However, her family was quick to refute this theory, arguing that she wouldn't have vanished without any contact. Over the following days, her father and boyfriend joined the search efforts. Bloodhounds picked up her scent briefly, but lost it about 100 yards from the car, suggesting she may have left the area in another vehicle. Weeks after Maura went missing, a witness claimed to have seen a young woman fitting her description walking along Route 112 later that night, although this sighting was not immediately reported. Maura's case quickly became a subject of intense public interest, with online forums and amateur detectives piecing together clues and theorizing about what might have happened. Despite multiple searches, including a thermal imaging helicopter scan, no trace of her was found. In March of the same year, another young woman named Brianna Maitland disappeared from a nearby town in Vermont, and comparisons were drawn between the cases. Police, however, stated they found no link between the two incidents. In subsequent years, Maura's father filed lawsuits seeking access to more information about the case. Frustrated with the limited progress, he became vocal in his belief that Maura had been abducted, but police maintained that there was no conclusive evidence pointing to foul play. Now let's have a look at Maura Murray's life. Maura Murray was the kind of young woman who seemed destined for success. Born into a large Irish Catholic family in Hanson, Massachusetts, she stood out for her intellect, athleticism, and boundless potential. A dedicated student with an impressive academic record, Maura was also a track star, known for her relentless determination and grace on the field. Her accomplishments led her to the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point, where she pursued chemical engineering, an ambitious path that her family and friends knew she had the drive to achieve. But Maura's decision to leave West Point after 3 semesters signaled an important private shift in her life. Seeking a new direction, she transferred to the University of Massachusetts Amherst to study nursing, a career that spoke to her compassion and desire to help others. Beneath the surface, however, Maura struggled with hidden pressures. While her friends and family saw her as strong and capable, Maura's life wasn't as seamless as it seemed. She juggled a demanding academic load, worked multiple jobs to support herself, and navigated personal challenges that she mostly kept to herself. Her life took a series of complicated turns in the months leading up to her disappearance, marked by subtle signs of stress and distress that hinted at inner conflicts she may have been carrying alone. In the final days before she vanished, close friends and family noticed small cracks in the armor she wore so well. Moments of uncharacteristic vulnerability that they would later recall with a sense of tragic urgency. What happened to Maura on the night of February 9, 2004, remains one of the most perplexing unsolved mysteries of recent times. Investigators have speculated and theorized, but the details of her last known days raise more questions than they answer. Was Maura's disappearance a product of her own struggles, or did she unknowingly cross paths with danger? These are the questions that keep her family, friends, and true crime followers searching for answers decades later. In recent years, hope was renewed for uncovering the truth about Maura Murray's disappearance. In 2019, a new lead emerged when cadaver dogs were brought in to search an area near a house close to the crash site where Maura was last seen. The dogs reportedly picked up the scent of what was believed to be human remains, sparking excitement and a sense of urgency. Investigators and search teams focused on this promising discovery, hoping that it might finally bring some closure to the mystery. An excavation was quickly organized to search the area thoroughly, yet despite the promising start, the lead ultimately yielded no results. No human remains were found, and the hopes of finding conclusive evidence were dashed once again. As the years have passed, Maura's disappearance has attracted national media coverage, evolving into one of the most enduring and heavily speculated missing persons cases in the United States. True crime enthusiasts, investigative journalists, and amateur detectives have dedicated countless hours to dissecting every aspect of her life, final days, and the possible scenarios that could explain her disappearance. Online forums and social media communities have kept her story alive, generating endless theories that range from the mundane to the extraordinary. Despite these efforts, the circumstances surrounding Maura's case remain as mysterious as they were on that snowy night in 2004. Was it a deliberate disappearance, an accidental tragedy, or something more sinister? For her family, the lack of answers is a daily source of heartache. They continue to hold out hope for closure, but each new lead that turns cold only deepens the unanswered questions surrounding Maura's fate. To this day, her case remains open and unsolved, with the haunting mystery of her disappearance still capturing the public's attention, leaving her family and the world with a lingering question. What truly happened to Maura Murray? As we reflect on the case of Maura Murray, it's impossible not to feel the weight of the uncertainty that has surrounded her disappearance for so long. Over 2 decades have passed since she vanished into the cold night, and despite numerous leads, searches, and theories, the mystery remains unresolved. The young woman with a bright future, the athlete, the student, the daughter, and the friend, Maura's life is defined by the haunting question of what happened in those final moments. Her family continues to search for answers, holding on to the hope that one day, the truth will emerge. They've never given up, even in the face of countless dead ends and disappointments. For them, Maura's absence is not just a case, it's a personal heartbreak, a constant void in their lives that cannot be filled. As time goes on, the public remains captivated by the case, eager to piece together the fragments of her story, each theory providing a glimmer of hope for a resolution. What happened to Maura that night remains a mystery that has captivated the hearts and minds of many, sparking debates, discussions, and ongoing investigations. While some believe she may have chosen to disappear, others are convinced foul play was involved. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: Maura Murray's story is far from over. Her case will continue to be explored, analyzed, and debated by those who seek justice, closure, and the simple desire to know what truly happened to a young woman whose life was tragically cut short, whether by her own hand or the hand of another. So, as we close this chapter on Maura Murray's life, we are reminded that some mysteries remain unsolved and some lives remain unanswered. But the quest for the truth will persist as long as her story lives on.